Here are more things that you must know before buying a house. Now, these are common property title issues. And I just want to make sure that you're avoiding these problems because I see them over and over again. If you're thinking about buying a house, whether it's a primary home, a second home, a vacation property, or even an investment property, this video is all about helping you avoid the pitfalls that are costly, especially when it comes time for closing on that property. Now, the process of buying a house can be fun, it can be exciting, and it can be super rewarding and even profitable. But on the other hand, it can be a total mess. It can be a money pit. It can cause anger, frustration, and possibly even a divorce. If this is your first time here on my YouTube channel, I just want to say welcome aboard. If you've subscribed already, then you already know there's a ton of super helpful videos here on this channel that help you avoid those pitfalls that are costly. So, if you're ready, give me a thumbs up and let's dive in. The reason I'm doing this video today is to help you. I've seen it all. There's many things that you need to know before you get too deep in and buy a house. Of course, there's no way to cover every single scenario in a video, so this is a super solid list of things that you're going to want to know when it comes time to closing on your property, specifically with common title issues that I see come up time and time again. Now, this is stuff that nobody talks about. Most people talk about buying a house, but when it comes down to it, actually closing a house, because that's where the rubber hits the road. If you've bought a house once before, or you've never done this, trust me when I say this, it's better to learn from somebody who's already done this and does it every single day. My team has helped thousands of people buy homes, whether it's a high-end home, a tiny home, a retirement home, or even a beach house. So if you're even thinking about buying a house, these are the things that you need to know about a previous owner's title before buying that home. You want to make sure you watch this entirely to the end because there's a lot of little things in here that you're going to want to know, and you're going to want to know what to do and what to stay away from. So no matter where you live in the nation, there's about 32 steps that you need to follow to close on a property. And there's many things that you need to know to get the best results. So let's talk about where do you start. So you've already been looking online. You've looked at a few houses, maybe even in person, and maybe even found a perfect house that you find then there's an issue with the title. And you say, oh, that's no big deal. Well, here's why it can be a real big deal. The house title represents the legal documentation that grants property rights to other property owners, the ownership rights. So it's just like buying a car. You need a title and you need a clear title. But in real estate, there are many common title issues in property that's in the history. So a little research and ultimately a title search can help uncover these title defects tied to your property before you waste money, time, and of course, many frustrations. So I want to make sure you're avoiding these problems. Here's my disclaimer. I'm not an attorney. I'm not an accountant. I'm a real estate broker, and this is info from my personal experience and the problems that I see others make. Now, here's common problems. An open mortgage. Get it satisfied. A bank many times has sold a property over and over again, or it was a savings and loan and it decided to get bought out by another bank, by another bank, by another bank. And then sometimes these documents get lost. Nobody knows if this thing's ever been paid out. This is a common problem I see. But if you think about it, a lot of title issues, if it's a 30-year mortgage on a house, that mortgage has probably been paid out if that loan was from 30 years ago. So you want to go back to the prior closing attorney and get a title satisfaction. Here's another thing. What's the difference between a clear title and a marketable title? A clear title has no issues. It's just going on. A marketable title means the property is sellable, but there could be some issue there. Now, I'm not practicing law here, but some attorneys don't explain to their client what it means to have the title, how it's affecting them. There's all different types of ways of holding title, and you just want to make sure that it's fully clear before it transfers. How about a tax lien? This could be past property taxes that are not paid. That's easy to clean up because if last year's taxes or 3 years ago taxes weren't paid, all the previous owner would have to do is to pay those tax bill to get that cleaned up. Then they can transfer that title. But here's something that I see a lot. Probate. Now, probate is the process of dispersing a deceased person's will or their estate of a deceased person without a will. Now, sometimes people don't recognize that when somebody passes, they have to change and go to probate, make sure there's no open loans on anything that they own, and get all that stuff cleared up. But here's a thing that the way that is titled that a lot of people don't think about or even know until a time comes to go sell a property is if two people own a property and it's held as joint tenants in common, the other person automatically gets it, the other spouse, whoever's on the title. Tenants in common, on the other hand, have to go through the probate to get this done, to make sure that it gets into that person's name. Now here's an example. Like if mom and dad own a house and dad dies, it doesn't automatically go to mom if it's held as tenants in common. So when mom wants to sell, there isn't a clear title. And if 10 years goes by and mom doesn't probate, she's going to need a court hearing. So this is the time. So if you put an offer in on a house, it could be a long delay before you get a court hearing to get this title clear. I personally have bought houses before that have had investment properties that have had title issues, and I said, once you get that cleaned up, come back to me and let me know. But if you're looking to move and you've sold a house and you're trying to move somewhere else, this is the stuff you want to be aware of. So back to the mom and dad thing is, if there's a problem with the previous probate, they'll need to reprobate to fix those problems. What about this? What about a family that has kids and one kid wants the house and the other kid wants the money, or the other kid wants this much money and the other one doesn't? There can be a battle there before you get a clear title. But you're going to need, in that case, there's always a need for an executor. Now this is the person who has the authority to actually sell it. Okay, you can have a house on the market and there is no authority to sell it. They can make a listing and you go through that process. You want to make sure that this title is clear. If you go into the tax records, this is a way to take a look at ownership and see how it's held. So these are tax records, usually in any county or state, wherever you live, are public. So you can go look at that stuff. You want to take a look at that and dive in, not just the listing. So when the sale comes up for the house, if it's don't have an executor, the sale can't go through because that's not in that person's name. Okay, it would go into the estate of that person. Here's another thing that they need to do is that estate would need to set up a checking account so that those assets, when it does get sold, actually can go into that. It can't go into another person's name. It has to go into the estate's name. That's why this is a process. It's not an on and off light switch. And if you don't have a will, whoever the court appoints as the executor, it could be, all the children, they have equal priority. We've seen this before where someone passes and they're all trying to figure out what to do and nobody's doing anything. The equal priority is not the oldest child automatically, unless everyone else that's in that family waives their right and appoints a person as an executor. That's the only way to get that resolved. Another common problem with title is a missing signature. Sounds silly, or a missing initial on a title previously. So when they do an exam, they can find these things. But one missing initial can cause a major delay. How about a tax lien that happened prior, or a judgment to the previous owner? It's going to try to get collected when they sell that house. These are things that need to be cleaned up. Lawsuits. Here's a common thing. If there's a common name on this person's property, John Jones or John Doe, there's thousands of people with that name. So if there was a lawsuit, guess what? They got to check to make sure every single one of those John Jones or John Joe isn't that person who owns title to that property. So this is another thing that the otherwise known as, we have to AKA make sure that that's not that person when they do the title exam. Mechanics liens. Even if it's a new construction property, there can be previous contractor work on that property that hasn't been paid, and you got to clear those liens. Now, also another issue, the previous title work wasn't properly executed. So there could be an old property survey. Now here's an example. If you're dealing with older properties, there's used to be meets and bounds and they didn't have markers. It was from the oak tree to the post, to the wood post in the pasture. if it never got resurveyed, some people want to save money and it changed hands. If you have a note or you have a loan on that property, a new lender is going to want to require a survey to know where that property is, to make sure that they have a solid idea of what that property is and what they're loaning money on. Now, title insurance will not cover you for issues after you purchase. It's only covering you from the point prior to purchase. So an easement, for example, of an electric company or a right-of-way for the city could happen after the fact of when you buy. So that's after the title. It won't cover you for those issues, title insurance. But if you purchase land and then you later build on the house, the title insurance will cover you for that land, but it's not covering you for that house because that was done after you took title to that property. So just, you want to understand what you can get covered for and what you can't get covered for. For example, I've seen this happen before where a piece of property was bought and another building was built on that property and it was over the line by 5 feet. Well, you're going to have to go through the work to get all that sorted out, but title insurance is not going to cover you for that. Could be legal issues. Here's another thing, is wire fraud. Now, nowadays, we see this over and over again, and a lot of attorneys, we're in an attorney state here, I'm in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and wire fraud is a big thing. Just before the closing, these scammers will look and wait to see if some money is going to be transferred or there's communications on the emails. They're not sending you in hacks and princes and send me money and no, it's nothing like that. They watch and they'll send the exact copy of what looks like a settlement statement, and they'll say to wire it somewhere, and it actually is not going into that attorney's or a trust account. So just be careful of wire fraud because it's common. Now, I recommend sitting next to the smart kid to avoid these pitfalls that are costly. Now, what do I mean by that? No matter where you are, no matter where you're buying or selling real estate in the country, I have a network of real estate experts that I can hook you up with. Just pick up the phone, give my office a call. We'll tell you where they are, who they are, and give you the information. So if this is, you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up. I hope this is helpful to you because, again, I truly want to make sure that you're avoiding the pitfalls that are costly. There's plenty of them. We're here to help you with any real estate needs. If you're buying or selling in Myrtle Beach or anywhere in the United States, pick up the phone, give us a call. We're here to help. It's Jerry with Jerry Pincus Real Estate Experts, 843-839-9870. Wherever you are, I hope you're having a great day. Hope you're enjoying these videos. If you are, go ahead and subscribe because there's a lot of them on here that are going to help you. Take care, guys. See you in the next video.